5 minutes.
Mr. Weissman, you highlighted in your testimony that in order to actually address improper influence in our elections and politics, this committee should be focused on closing the loopholes that allow dark money to flow through 501c4 organizations. One of those loopholes allows wealthy donors holding appreciated assets like corporate stock to donate that property to a 501c4 without paying capital gains tax. And in fact, in 2022, billionaire conservative donor Barry Seed transferred $1.6 billion in stock to Marble Freedom Trust, a right-wing 501c4 organization. This was the largest political advocacy donation in U.S. history, and it was totally tax-free for Seed, who avoided paying around $400 million in tax liability due to this loophole. And this kind of dark money influence is only growing. The 2024 federal election cycle saw $1.9 billion in dark money spending, nearly double the amount from the previous cycle. Groups like Building America's Future have used these structures to fund political messaging campaigns, and major donors, including Elon Musk, have helped bankroll such organizations. If donors in that position choose to contribute appreciated assets, they can do so anonymously and tax-free. And that's why I will be reintroducing my End Tax Breaks for Dark Money Act with Senator Whitehouse, which would apply the same tax treatment to donations of appreciated property made to 501c4, 501c5s, and 501c6 organizations as already applies to donations to 527 political organizations. So, Mr. Weissman, from your perspective, how do these tax and disclosure loopholes combine to expand the risk of secret and also foreign influences in our elections, and what are the risks if Congress fails to disclose them?
Well, thank you. We very much support the initiative and the bill that you will be reintroducing. As you describe, it effectively makes donations to 501c4s tax deductible, wrongly, and in contravention of the purpose of the tax code. So you are indeed closing a loophole that should be a common sense matter. I think everyone should agree on that. More broadly is this issue that we've been discussing of secret donations to 501c4s. There is a balance that needs to be struck about legitimate privacy interests of of donors to tax-exempt organizations. But when you enter the electoral space, the balance tips clearly in the need for public disclosure of those donations and the source of those donations. And the answer to this, and perhaps my colleagues agree, because I agree exactly with how Ms. Sutherland just described it, exactly with how Ms. Miller described it, the answer is the Disclose Act, which would require robust disclosure and would affirmatively end foreign donations that funnel into our elections.
Thank you for that. Mr. Weissman, Democrats successfully secured $80 billion in historic funding to strengthen IRS enforcement, but since then, Republicans have since clawed back over half of that funding and colossally slashing the IRS workforce. And in fact, the Trump administration slashed the very division tasked with overseeing the tax-exempt status of nonprofits by 25%. So it has been maintained that these cuts did not affect the criminal investigation portion of that division. But is that true? And how do these cuts affect IRS's ability to look at millionaires and billionaires who can cheat our tax system while everyday Americans wait hours to spend to just speak to a live human being? So how does this increase foreign influence?
Yeah, well, I don't want to comment on Mr. Dubinsky's remarks. I think he was trying to make a nuanced point, but the main point is very clear. The IRS staff, not only has that money been clawed back, on top of that, IRS staffing in the last year has been cut by 25%. And as you say, also 25% within the tax-exempt division. So as regards the topic that we're talking about, that means there is less staffing available to do reviews of tax returns from nonprofits and to discover the problems that the panel is all discussing. So if we care about that, then the administration needs to restore that staffing. The other question you were saying is perhaps even more important, which is the reason that extra funding was supplied, as you know, was to do two things: to make the service more responsible to regular consumers, but also to empower them to investigate complex returns of high dollar and corporate tax cheats. That investment pays back about 5 or more times over. They've lost that money, lost that capacity. That means we're going to see more tax fraud, more tax cheating, more tax avoidance by the rich and large corporations, and the tax revenue of the United States will net go down by at least $200 billion over the next 10 years.
Thank you. I yield.